your life in 10 or 15 years. Many of us one day envision ourselves as parents, for we too would love to experience that indescribable bond with a child of our very own. Now we shall do the same, but this time we will try to picture ourselves in the future where the United States enforces parent licensing. What if there are no children in our future this time? Resolved that the U.S. federal government should establish a parent licensing program. According to dictionary.com, the word license is defined as formal permission from a governmental or other constituted authority to do something, as to carry on some business or profession. Keep this definition in mind when I put the word license along the side of the word parent. Parent licensing. How can the government teach us how to be decent parents through courses? They can't. The negative side sees that having a child is your choice. U.S. citizens have certain inalienable rights, and the right to bear a child is similar to these, in that it is a natural right and not one that can be administered by the government. The percentage of children who have died from abuse, which includes sexual, physical, verbal, and neglect, has risen in the U.S. since 1995. There has been a recent spike as a result of the recession that has hit the U.S., with many parents feeling the economic hardship. Licensing parents. The United States of America is a democratic country. The term democracy is defined as government by the people, meaning its choices are carried out by the people or their representatives. If the government starts regulating who can and cannot have children, thus making them parents, who is to say that if parent licensing is legalized, U.S. citizens will not start losing other natural rights guaranteed by our Constitution? Our rights could potentially be fiddled with in the government's hands, and although we may not find ourselves in the same state as communist China, it is not unreasonable to believe that the government would not start intervening in other affairs that never had any government involvement before. Passing a parent licensing law would only increase the vulnerability of our other natural rights. Which brings me to my second point, that implementing a parent licensing program would go against the reproductive rights that our Constitution protects. According to the World Health Organization, these rights include that reproductive rights rest on the recognition of the basic rights of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing, and timing of their children, and to have the information and means to do so. Our country was built upon the idea that each individual has inalienable rights, and that our country gives freedom to its people. The idea completely ignores our founding fathers' wishes, as stated in the Constitution. Overall, is this what our founding fathers envisioned our country to stand for? Finally, women have naturally been given the ability to reproduce. This is not arguable. Taking a sentimental approach, human reproduction is part of the circle of life. It is our responsibility to carry on the human race and to further advance society. This being said, every person should be given an equal opportunity to raise a child. As my own two parents tried to explain to me, when your child arrives, you explore and discover different aspects of yourself that before you were not aware that you possessed. You discover your own strengths and weaknesses as a person. Depriving someone of the right to parent a child is depriving them of the right to further explore themselves as people and as parents. On the whole, the negative side is arguing that the government would be restricting its citizens in the figurative and literal sense. We support that producing children is a natural right, not a privilege. The affirmative side may argue that if you need a license to drive and perform some professions, parenting should also require licensing, since it is the most difficult job of all. However, even licensed parents are prone to accidents on the road. Just because a driver is taught to stop at a stop sign does not always guarantee they will stop. How can we be sure that even licensed parents will not intentionally or unintentionally abuse their child? Next, the opposing side may argue that, as a result of many parents being unprepared, they end up abusing their children, and that parent licensing would help prevent child abuse. However, providing a course may not always correct the behavior of parents who are bound to harm their children. Certain forms of physical abuse are innate to parents in accordance to their own childhood situation. These practices are not guaranteed to be altered by classes. Who says that one doctor is capable of altering your morals or philosophies? Last, the affirmative side may argue that most criminals' issues stem from their parents' behavior, home life, and the way that they were raised. Even if we pass a parent licensing program, we cannot be sure that illegitimate children will not be born. How can the government regulate who has protected and unprotected sex? And if these children, who are not supposed to be born in the first place, develop a low self-esteem as a result of their parents' attitudes towards them, there is a large chance that they will follow the same behavioral paths as any criminal would. We will literally find ourselves back at point A, therefore making the entire concept of parent licensing null and void. In conclusion, as stated by Faye Waddleton, an advocate for reproductive rights, reproductive freedom is critical to a whole range of issues. If we can't take charge of this most personal aspect of our lives, we can't take care of anything. Thank you. Please vote negative.